This is a powerful visionary speech. Crafting a new script of the same length while maintaining that intense, motivational tone and structure requires focusing on a different, but equally grand and nationally defining, strategic goal. The original speech focused on space sovereignty through a partnership with India, a compelling alternative, especially for a landlocked West African nation, would be continental infrastructure and trade sovereignty through a revolutionary new project with a different strategic partner, perhaps Brazil, focusing on resources and South-South cooperation, or the United Arab Emirates, focusing on logistics and finance. Let's focus on the Trans-Sahel Rail Port Link and Continental Digital Backbone Initiative with the United Arab Emirates, UAE. The desert shall bloom, the $42 billion bridge to the sea. My brothers and sisters, the day I stood beside Sheikh Hamdan in Abu Dhabi, beneath the soaring, gravity-defying towers where the desert met the future, I knew we were rewriting history. The Arabian Gulf glittered behind us. Financiers calculated in quiet rooms. The world's media tracked every movement. But for me, it was not just another signing. It was the sound of Africa reclaiming its geography. 42 billion, let that number settle in your soul. The world's headlines screamed it. Western analysts scrambled to comprehend it. But listen closely, my brothers and sisters. This was not charity. This was not a handout wrapped in pity. This was not the usual dance of maritime loans that steal our future, aid that restricts our growth, or promises that dissolve like sandstorms. No, this was a partnership forged between equals, a landlocked nation meeting a sea power titan, logistics meeting courage, the future meeting those brave enough to seize the sea. They said I was too ambitious to lead, too fast to be trusted with this scale of wealth, too bold to sit at tables with global merchants. Yet in that moment, in that room where trade routes are made and broken, I carried the weight of every Burkinabe who ever looked at a map and wondered why the ocean was 1,000 kilometers away. The trader whose goods spoil in transit, the miner whose ore rots in the sun, the child who dreams of the impossible abundance of the sea. I did not sign for myself. I signed for them. And as the ink dried on that historic agreement, I felt the old order tremble. They do not fear our lack of access. They have always profited from our isolation. They fear our connectivity. They fear the moment Africa stops waiting for permission to trade and starts building its own destiny. That day, under the gaze of the world, they saw the truth. Burkina Faso will not be landlocked. We will stand. We will not beg for passage to the sea. We will build the passage ourselves. Why a railway and a digital spine? Many will ask, why a railway? Why now, brothers and sisters? This pact is not simply about metal on stone. It is about seizing our economic geography. For decades, European companies managed our logistics. Western ports dictated our prices. Foreign middlemen charged tariffs on goods that started and ended on the continent, all while we paid for the privilege of being disconnected. They controlled the flow of goods better than we did. They knew where our cotton lay, where our cattle moved, where our minerals slept. And they used that knowledge not to help us, but to exploit us. But on that day in Abu Dhabi, that changed forever. Africa's first Trans-Sahel trade corridor. Not purchased, not rented, not borrowed, built. Ours with Emirati partnership. Yes, but manufactured on African soil, laid by African engineers, controlled by African hands. When that train leaves Ouagadougou, it will not report to Paris or London. It will report to us. Let us speak plainly about what this $42 billion contains, because transparency is the weapon against those who whisper that this is fantasy, and for the dual tree. $15 billion for the Trans-Sahel Railroad. A dual-track, high-speed cargo and passenger line connecting Ouagadougou directly to a new deep-water port on the Atlantic, reducing transport costs by 70%. $10 billion for the Continental Digital Backbone, laying 5,000 kilometers of high-capacity fiber optic cable alongside the rail, linking our nation to the sea and the world with the fastest internet in West Africa. $7 billion for the Newport Logistics Hub, a Burkinabe-controlled commercial gateway on the coast including storage, processing, and export facilities for our cotton, gold, and agricultural produce. $5 billion for the African Logistics Data Institute, a decade-long program training 10,000 logistics managers, rail engineers, data scientists, and cybersecurity experts. $3 billion for secure digital trade infrastructure, creating blockchain-based systems to ensure transparent and corruption-free customs and trade operations. $2 billion for agricultural cold chain infrastructure along the rail line, enabling farmers to export fresh produce year-round. These are not grants that come with conditions. These are not loans that come with chains. This is foreign direct investment structured as a partnership where the UAE provides capital and world-class logistical expertise, and Burkina Faso provides the strategic land and the determination. The UAE built a global trade hub from a barren shore. They understand efficiency. They understand ambition without arrogance. And they understand something the West never did. Partnership means both sides rise. The two futures of the corridor. But let us not be naive, brothers and sisters. Investment is not charity. The UAE will gain. They will secure a strategic foothold in West African logistics, data, and a long-term supply of key resources. The question before us is not whether the UAE benefits. They will. The question is, will Burkina Faso benefit more? Will the rail carry our prosperity or theirs? Will the engineers trained stay and build or leave and forget? Will the technology transfer be real or will it remain ink on expensive paper? Walk through Ouagadougou's streets as the news spreads. A market vendor hears it and shakes her head. Another promise. Another headline. A young graduate studying data science dares to hope but remembers past betrayals. Farmers in Bobo Dioulasso, traders in Ouagadougou, soldiers in remote garrisons, they have all heard grand announcements before. Too many vanished into corruption, into bureaucracy, into foreign bank accounts while the people remained in the dark. This time must be different. If the railway connects rural producers directly to a global market, if the fiber optic cable brings high-speed internet to every school and clinic, if the Logistics Institute trains a generation of African trade masters, then this pact will not just be words, it will be lived reality. Thousands of jobs will bloom in rail operations, in port management and data analysis. Young people will code software that manages freight flow. Technicians will maintain a network that guards our commercial sovereignty. The real test will not be in speeches or ceremonies. It will be in the village where the train's horn sounds for the first time. It will be in the customs office where an honest system processes cargo instantly. It will be in the hands of the first Burkinabe port director, who oversees the loading of a ship for Asia and says, "I made this connection." The trembling of the old order. Do you feel it, brothers and sisters? From Washington to Paris, from Brussels to Beijing, they are scrambling in their corridors of power. How did this happen? How did Burkina Faso, small, landlocked, underestimated, sign the largest continental connectivity and trade sovereignty deal in African history? How did they meet in Abu Dhabi and announce Africa's leap over the desert to the sea? The answer is simple. We dared because we must. For too long, the West held no more. The story of Burkina Faso will be written in Ouagadougou, and part of that story, written in steel and light, will be a railway running from the desert to the sea. They thought we would stay isolated forever. They were wrong. Africa is rising. And when our trains rumble past their old colonial depots, perhaps they will look up and remember, we built this.